first come up and assist me in handing these out, because you're going to be better with the names than I'll ever be.
Alora. Valerie. No, Valerie. Val. Haley. Yes. Haley.
See, I never do first names, otherwise I would have did it.
Kaylee. Cadence.
You can hold it once and right here. This is young lady here.
Cadence, yes. Gabby. Bella. Gigi. Ava Clark.
What a young.
Cam. Elizabeth. Scarlett. Ginny. Allie. Liliana. Michaela. Skylar. Julia. Layla. Violet. Juliana. Ava Letterman. Reagan. Kira. Grayson. Ava Lella. Kendall.
The rest are for you. Congratulations. We're all very proud of you here in Jackson Township. This is the part where the parents come up and allowed to take pictures of the girls where they are. So you can stand up and take all the pictures you want right now. You want to, you can.
Wait till they clear out and we'll do a shot.
The next group would be the D12 cheer team.
D12.
D12.
I guess I get this to do this.
You can announce all the names you want. I'll just hand out certificates and that's it.
I like you.
Alana,
They're not as fast as the little ones.
No, if I- She here? Yeah.
Kinlan, Kalia, Danica, Audriana, Ella, Aubrey Harvey, Val, Aubrey Kelly, Gabriella, Lisbeth, Cadence, Olivia, Jenna, Jaylani, and Julia.
To all the coaches. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, girls, we're so very proud of you. Thank you for bringing it home to Jackson.
We're going to take a 3-minute break just to allow for the room to get cleared.
Congratulations.
You're welcome. Congratulations, girls.
Oh, that's it. What's up, kid? What brings you here? Ah, very nice, very nice. I'm good, I'm good.
Residents first. Resident? Oh, yeah, it's am I resident? Yeah, he's a resident too.
But, 8. Maybe. Okay, well. I know, because you sound congested here. All in your head. It's that raspiness, too, you have. Foggy. Yeah, it's a line.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, if you could sit down, we're going to start. Hello, we're going to start the meeting.
Council President, would you like me to resume?
Yes,
Thank
Madam
you.
Clerk, please.
Are you good? Thank you. We will continue with opening comments from Township Council. Council President Kuhn.
Thank you, Clerk. Good evening, residents of Jackson. Thank you for coming out tonight. I would like to take the opportunity to recognize Mr. Mayer, a teacher of Crawford Elementary School, for his outstanding work. I had the privilege of attending his presidential ball, which he has been organizing with the third graders for over 20 years. It was a fantastic event, and I am already looking forward to attending next year. Mr. Mayer also hosts another event around Thanksgiving. Mar, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. Where he invites all the students from past classes. It truly is amazing what he does, and he deserves our appreciation for his dedication to education. I also wanted to update you on the Mayor's Veterans Commission. Last week, I attended the Race for Life at the Knights of Columbus, and we are considering co-hosting a Veterans Appreciation event there in August. We believe it will be a great opportunity to show our support for our veterans. I will keep you informed about any further details regarding this event. Regarding the Rova Farms project, we are making progress. We recently had a meeting with the engineer firm, and they have completed the wetlands delineation. The committee has expressed their vision for the project to the engineer, but we understand that it is still in the early phases. We have submitted the project to the DEP to see if there is any additional space we can utilize beyond the wetlands buffer. We are hoping to receive a response by our next month's meeting. Madam Clerk, I would like to discuss the process for preparing for council agenda at the as the council president. I believe it is important to provide the residents of Jackson with insight onto how the agenda process will be moving forward. We have set a deadline of 12 p.m. on Wednesday prior to the meetings for all department heads to submit their request to be included on the agenda. Once the requests are submitted, I would like to review them before they are placed on the agenda. This will allow me to ask any necessary questions to the department heads, administration, or our attorney. After I have reviewed the requests, I will request you, Madam Clerk, send them to the fellow council members for their review by the end of the day on Thursday. I would like each email to council members to include the following message. Councilman, the following is Tuesday's agenda. Please review and contact me with any questions. Do not reply all. If I do not hear from you, I will assume you have no questions, and Madam Clerk will post the agenda to the public by 4 p.m. on Friday. I would like to receive a confirmation email from each council member prior to the agenda being posted to the public. This final confirmation will allow me to address any changes and concerns that the council might have. We aim to have the agenda posted to the public no later than 4 p.m. In regards to the ordinance, we will continue the current process. Once I receive a new ordinance that is going to be introduced, I will ask Madam Clerk to circulate it to the council members for their consideration and review. I will also provide a brief summary of the ordinance and ask the council members to contact me individually to discuss any objections or concerns. If I do not hear from them, I will assume there is no objections or concerns. Thank you for your attention, and I appreciate your cooperation in ensuring an effective and transparent agenda process. Thank you.
Thank you. Council Vice President Sargent.
Good evening. Ms. Kuhn, I have a question regarding that, the ordinance, or the piece where you said that you want everybody to notify you by Wednesday. Do you feel like that's enough time for you? I know in the past it's been Thursday or Friday, but even Wednesday is cutting it kind of short considering Saturday and Sunday are days off.
100%, I agree. Ordinances are usually introduced to council at least a minimum of 5 to 7 days prior to. That's more in regards to resolutions or any concerns that they have once they receive their agenda before it goes to the public. If there's anything that they have a question for, I'll be able to answer that.
Thank you very much.
Thank
That's
you.
it for me. Thank you.
Councilman Borelli?
Thank you, Clerk Moss. First, congratulations to the Jackson Youth Football and Cheer teams. Continue making your family, school, and our town proud. Also, just an FYI for everybody and the residents of our town, the Jackson branch of the Ocean County Library, located in our town's Justice Complex, will be closed beginning on next Monday, March 4th, and reopen on or about Monday, March 18th, according to the Ocean County Library system. Reason being why they're closing is they're installing new carpet in our town's library. During the time they're closed, you may return borrowed items to on-site drop boxes or to any Ocean County Library branch. Also, items awaiting pickup at the Jackson branch will be transferred as of March 4th to Manchester's library on 21 Colonial Drive. Their phone number, if you need to contact them regarding that, is 732-657-7600, or at any Ocean County branch that patron wishes to request prior to Jackson's library closing. During the closing, the phone number to the Jackson Library, of course, will be unavailable, so you can call the library's main number if you have to at 732-349-6200, or you can visit their website at www.theoceancountylibrary.org. Also, in closing, actually, at the very last council meeting, I said, with the advice and consent of the council president, I was planning on introducing a resolution in support of Assembly Bill 3589, which former colleague and former Jackson Township Councilman and Assemblyman Alex Sawicki is sponsoring, that will require the state of New Jersey to pay the salary of state monitors assigned to school districts, not the local school districts would have the burden. I noticed a resolution in support of this Assembly bill, which would help take the burden off Jackson taxpayers imposed by the state and help our town school district with their budget woes, was not included on tonight's agenda. I hope Council President would consider placing the resolution on the next meeting's agenda in March. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Bernstein?
Thank you, Madam Clerk. A couple of quick things. I had the opportunity, and also joining with Council President Kuhn and with Councilman Chisholm, obviously separately, at the Roval Farms Committee meeting yesterday. And as the Council President said, the committee is moving forward. We finally have our wetlands delineation properly filed with the state, and we are looking forward to hopefully over the next month or 2 months moving that process in a way forward that hopefully we could actually see a shovel in the ground this year. Additionally, I had opportunity as a liaison to the Board of Ed to going to the Board of Ed meeting. I'm extremely impressed with the hard work that the Board of Ed does. As my colleague just mentioned, I also would support a resolution in support of Assemblyman Sawicki's bill. I actually discussed it with Assemblyman Sawicki by a county event last week. We are looking forward to our attorney properly drafting such a resolution and hopefully it being on our next meeting's agenda. The Board of Ed passed such a resolution, and it's something that I think this entire council would very much support. I also just want to really thank the Board of Ed for going out of their way to ensure the safety and the well-being of all of our residents in town. They recently went into contract with the LSTA, which is a regional state-approved consortium that will hopefully ensure that, A, more of our children get properly bused to school, but also equally important, ensuring that our town has one address to speak to when there are issues, snow issues, road issues, and we can ensure that hopefully the safety of all of our residents in Jackson. Additionally, I also had the opportunity to speak to the county librarian. Multiple residents reached out about the possibility of the Jackson Library being open now on Sunday to accommodate more readers. The county is looking into opening our Jackson Library, I guess, after the renovations are done, for a couple hours on Sunday afternoon. Tom's River Library is open on Sunday, and I think Manchester Library is considering it, and so is Lakewood's Library. So I think that will ensure that more children and more people have access to that wonderful resource which we have here in Jackson. Additionally, we are, just to piggyback off of our last meeting when we talked about the landlord registration, after doing some math that the clerk's office provided, I'm happy to announce that this ordinance will generate over another $120,000, $115,000, I think, exact Council President?
$112,500.
$112,500 of extra revenue for the town. So we are looking at various ordinances that currently exist on our books to making sure that the fees are up to date with the 2024 standards. Some of them do need tweaking. If anyone notices any fees that they think should be updated, please feel free to contact any of your council members. We are also looking at some of the no-knock ordinance and seeing what we could do to fix that. I also just want to mention that we really do appreciate everyone coming out to our meetings, and I'm excited to see some new faces. Have a good night.
Thank you. Councilman Chisholm?
Good evening, thank you. So congratulations to our cheer teams. It's fantastic to see the hard work that's really paid off for them. They really make Jackson proud, and it's a rich tradition we've had here with all of our sports teams for the last several decades, whether it's A South or B South champs or state champs, national champs. So we've got a really rich sporting heritage here in Jackson, and it's good to see the youth keeping that up. As usual, however, I would like to bring your attention to the people in Trenton. You may have heard there is a Senate Bill 1970, the Age of Consent Bill it's called. So they are looking to lower the age of consent for your children without your permission, that they can make their own decisions without consulting a parent for mental health, medical health, physical decisions, sexual, everything except for sexual assault, drugs, alcohol. I don't know about you, but I don't know how many 13-year-olds are able to make those decisions on their own. A lot of teenagers, you can't get to make up their own room or decide when it's the right time to eat a proper food or to, I don't know, geez, just make a list, right? I mean, just driving decisions. You've all seen it. You've all been a teenager yourself. Quite frankly, I don't know that our legislators are quite mature enough to make these decisions for our children themselves. Maybe we should legislate them. With that, I have nothing further, so thank you.
Thank you. Mayor Michael Reno?
Thank you. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Just, it wasn't mentioned tonight. Normally we do. I thought the coaches would, and if it was, I'll count that to my bad hearing. But the young ladies that were here tonight, D8 and D12, are the the D8 or large level 2 Jersey Shore Big East Regional and most importantly AYC National Champions. The Jackson Jaguars D12 large level 3 Jersey Shore Big East Regional and most importantly are also AYC National Champions. So I said it before and it bears mentioning again, the amount of time that these young ladies and their coaches, the parents, put into this, and we reap the rewards of Jackson being national champions again. So I know they're all gone, but I want to wish them a congratulations. As you look along the room, tonight we have an opportunity to thank the Jackson Police Department's finest we have right here, men and women. You all do a job. We know what you do. We appreciate it. You never told that enough. Instead, you told all the things you don't do. So I'm here to tell you, on behalf of Jackson Township, and I know I mean this, when we say we have your back, we have your back, all your backs. This is not New York City, this is not Philadelphia, and yes, I'm knocking these towns, this is not Chicago. We stand behind and with you, and we will defend you at all costs because you take care of our families. So thank you all very much. I think more now than ever, it's important for each and every one in this room, whether you're law enforcement or not, to be vigilant. Whether it's your cars parked outside, you even going to the grocery store. As recently as this past week, we had a woman in Toms River going to a car, kidnapped. This is not good times we're in. Open borders makes all of our towns unsafe. So please be vigilant and stand behind our blue. Thank you all. Get home safe. Have a great evening.
Thank you. Ordinance, consideration of ordinance, public hearing, and final consideration. This is the second reading of ordinance 06-24 entitled, an ordinance of the Township of Jackson, County of Ocean, State of New Jersey, amending Chapter 3 of the Administrative Code of the Township of Jackson, establishing the position of Director of the Department of Public Safety. This ordinance was introduced on February 13th, 2024. I need a motion to open the public hearing.
Motion.
Second.
All
Roll
in
call.
favor?
Aye.
If any member of the public has any comments to make, please address the council at the microphone and state your name and address clearly for the record. You will have 5 minutes and may only speak once.
Sergeant John Rodriguez, SOA President. We'd like to take this opportunity to once again thank the council members who have voted in favor of this ordinance, the support of Mayor Reyna and his administration, and the unwavering commitment of the men and women of our collective unions towards the future of our agency. Since we last spoke at this podium, 2 weeks have passed, and while we're not surprised by this, precious little has been done in the interim. There has been no movement on hiring, despite the needs of the agency. It should be noted the chief has allowed Ocean County Police Academy Class Number 118, commencing May 3rd, to fill to capacity, with our agency having no persons attending. The next academy class begins September 6th, and for the benefit of those unfamiliar with the hiring process, the work needs to start within the next calendar month. There is a certification process through civil service for those applicants, and that takes several weeks. We conduct a pre-employment physical assessment that needs to be organized and administered. Applicants need to be given additional time to complete and submit the nearly 50-page application, and after reviewing the returned applications, they are assigned to a background investigator from the Detective Bureau, who also maintains an active caseload while simultaneously completing the background function. Having been in this position, a minimum of 4 weeks, but preferably 6, is required to complete a thorough background. Then, after the investigator's submissions are reviewed, an interview panel must be convened, after which candidates are selected. These candidates must then be scheduled for psychological and physical examinations. And after all that, they spend 2 weeks inside the agency completing mandated pre-academy training. Only after all that are they ready to attend the 6-month police academy. Upon completion, they must complete an additional 3 months of field training post-academy before being considered manpower for staffing purposes. This brings the total time frame to approximately 1 year from the initiation of the hiring process, and we cannot afford to wait any longer. Before the chief speaks and makes statements about civil service difficulties in closing our list and disqualifying applicants again, I would like to reiterate that this is not the only means of hiring, and any suggestion by the chief otherwise is untruthful at best, as he simultaneously used exceptions to the civil service list to hire last summer, while simultaneously hiring off the civil service list and sending both types of candidates to the academy at the same time. When the chief last spoke, he remarked on a recruitment unit that has been going out soliciting for potential applicants. This is again disingenuous. The recruitment unit consists of one individual who has only recently been assigned to this function as a side duty to his position, with no budget, literature, or even applications to hand out. They, through no fault of their own, have been sent to only one single event without the benefit of supporting materials, and they went to a high school event speaking to children who are too young to even apply to the police officer position. The chief's recruitment efforts have yielded exactly 0 applicants for employment and are wholly insufficient, and I can't overstress the importance of seeking out the best future police officers possible. Furthermore, I reject the chief's assertion that there are no good applicants on the civil service list. I refuse to accept that as a society we do not have brave, kind-hearted, intelligent, and dedicated individuals seeking the position of police officer. Dig deeper. Certify more persons on the list and utilize all internal and external means in a fair, objective manner to find quality applicants. This brings me to the next major item that didn't happen in the last 2 weeks: promotions. We currently have the promotion list certified, and as of this moment, the chief has yet to request any promotions from the township. To provide an example of how this affects the agency, and by extension, the taxpayers of Jackson Township, since I last spoke at this podium, there have been 14 instances of patrol supervisory overtime for a total of 77.5 man-hours at a cost of just under $10,000 to the township. This is only the last 2 weeks, and only patrol sergeants. Yet the chief still has not sought to promote additional sergeants despite having open vacancies and unfilled spots. This is inefficient at best and disrespectful to the taxpayers of Jackson Township. I'd like to take a moment to address Councilman Borelli and Chisholm. Following your no vote on this ordinance, we're requesting the membership remain in the room for the duration of this meeting so they can hear your justifications for your positions after having heard our factual basis for supporting this ordinance. It is worth noting that neither I nor President Hemba have heard from either of you in the last 2 weeks while you were attempting to do your due diligence, nor have I ever heard from you, Councilman Borelli, during your tenure as a liaison to the police department. If you maintain your no vote, at least have the decency to skip the part where you tell us how much you appreciate us and support us.
Officer, I did reach out to you. You never called me back.
When was that, sir?
A few weeks ago, before the first meeting, the first reading on this.
When you had the prepared comments from the chief that you admitted that you
No,
were
I prepare my own
questioned
comments for
President
every
Hemba
meeting,
on?
sir.
Okay,
Thank
but
you
you
for your
spoke with President
service.
Hemba. You
Yes,
spoke
I
with President
did.
Hemba.
Yes, I
So you
did.
spoke with one of us.
Yes, but I did reach
Okay.
out to you to speak with you as well.
Okay.
Let's keep it.
Okay, we'll move on. The only thing, last thing I'll ask is, can the council speak on the breaking news that I was just made aware of a $1.2 million settlement for a wrongful death suit? Looking
Your
to-
time's up, but I will ask the attorney, please address that last comment.
I'll respect the time, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
The township recently, through its insurance company, settled a civil lawsuit during a trial for a settlement amount of $1.2 million. There was a death involved as a result of a police chase, and the allegations of the complaint included essentially, and these were the allegations: negligent hiring, negligent retention, negligent supervision, and failure to properly follow the internal affairs guidelines within the department. And the case settled for $1.2 million in the middle of the trial.
And can you just elaborate why we settled?
Well, it's a decision of the insurance company based upon the testimony that was presented for the beginning part of the trial.
And whose testimony?
Among others, the chief's.
Thank you.
Are we ready?
Yes, ma'am.
Eleanor Haddam, Jackson, New Jersey. I'm here to talk about this ordinance. Quite frankly, I see this as a complete political agenda. It's no secret that Mayor Reyna here has had his own personal agenda, his angst towards the chief for the past 6 years, mainly because it revolves around the fact that the chief refused to make something go away when his son had a situation with law enforcement. But my other really big concern, my son-in-law, who is law enforcement, who is a lieutenant and the sharpshooter and on SWAT off the main line for Philadelphia. I discussed with him something that I had seen. The fact that officers are pictured or used for propaganda purposes to promote or forward someone's personal company, in which we have Ms. Kuhn here, who has chosen to use the sheriff's department, and generally the police force would be there, to use that as her current situation during an eviction for a cash for keys, in which that is part of her business. So if you look, you will see a picture of her current situation and picturing law enforcement officers, which puts those officers and their families in direct harm's way. Never should the propaganda of our law enforcement be used by such disgusting and unethical means. Furthermore, it has come to my attention, actually it's not recent, but there was never a closed vote by the law enforcement union membership. Instead, it was a show of hands. Never again have I ever seen a vote for a union done that way. And I'm a member of a union. I was a member of another union for 18 years. Never has a union done that. It is no secret that Ms. Kuhn, the other individual, the union president for the PBA, who is promoting and pushing this, is also her boyfriend. So it is very difficult. It is very difficult to ascertain whether or not Ms. Kuhn here should be.
I'm going to declare you out of order, ma'am.
Should be.
Ma'am,
I
you're out
have
of order.
my First
Ma'am,
Amendment
you're-
right to
I'm
speak.
declaring you out
so
of order.
Therefore,
Ma'am,
she
I'm
should not
declaring
be
you out of
voting
order.
on this ordinance. It's my First Amendment, and you are not
Can
a
an officer
dictator.
please remove her from the room? I would like her removed.
I didn't do anything.
Thank you, sir.
Jeff Henba, 42-year Jackson resident and the PBA president. Good evening, Mayor Reyna, Council President Kuhn, Councilman Bernstein, Councilman Sargent, Councilman Borelli, Councilman Chisholm, and Mr. Wall. Before I address the main issue I'm here to speak about tonight, I would just like to address a few residents in town who have spewed lies on social media pages these last few weeks about my personal life. I don't owe anyone an explanation about my personal life, but if you insist on knowing about it, then please see me in person and I'll have a conversation with you. I'd like to thank President Rodriguez for his remarks and discuss what the chief did do in the last 2 weeks since the last council meeting. Picking the lowest hanging fruit, he held a hastily put together staff meeting with less than 24 hours notice via email on a day I was unable to attend due to previous scheduled work obligations. As I related by those few who were able to make this meeting, approximately 20% of the current staff and most who are already working, the chief reported to, have reiterated his statements from the previous council meeting with little more of substance to add. The chief also held a command staff meeting with what was reported to me as 8-minute notice, and I suppose he wishes to say that he's heard our concerns and has turned over a new leaf, but the men and women of our agency and our residents are too smart to fall for that. At the previous council meeting, I advised all of you some of the issues that the PBA and SOA members have had with the chief and the lack of leadership and decision-making that we are dealing with on a daily basis. We, the members, not anyone else, work inside that building every day and see firsthand what we lack and what we need to make the agency the best it can be. Our chief does not fight for or listen to his employees of their wants or needs. To Councilman Borelli and Chisholm, who have questioned this ordinance and requested it to be tabled, I ask you to please listen to the facts that SOA President Rodriguez and myself have made you aware of. At the last council meeting, Councilman Borelli, who for the last 2 years was one of our police liaisons, however, never addressed any of these issues, nor met with any of the current staff, voted no to this ordinance. He also insisted that he supported the men and women in blue of the Jackson Police Department prior to voting. Also at the last council meeting, Councilman Chisholm wanted to know what the rush was to get this ordinance on the agenda and how the township will get sued. I say to you, sir, sued for what? Sued for holding the chief accountable? The agency lacks true leadership, accountability, and decision-making, and these specific qualities are things that have been lacking for the last several years and something our members desperately need. Not the sooner, the better. These issues didn't just start yesterday. This should not be and is not political. However, the both of you appear to have made it that way. The PBA and SOA are asking you to vote yes tonight, and you would do so if you actually support the men and women of the Jackson Police Department. Lastly, I'd like to thank our police liaisons, Council President Kuhn and Councilman Bernstein, for seeking out those who represent the rank and file of the Jackson Police Department to hear our needs and concerns, as well as Mayor Reyna and Administrator Wall. I'd also like to thank the Lakewood Scoop for their journalistic integrity and support of the facts throughout this process. We look forward to moving your police department forward. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Jim Seleckia. I live in Jackson. I know nothing about all the details. Everything I've heard is between last meeting and tonight's meeting. I understand all the issues that the rank and file, the union has presented, and to me, those are significant issues. But here's my question regarding this ordinance. It sounds like people are unhappy with the chief. So has it been looked at that maybe instead of adding an additional $200,000, we actually solve the problem of making a change? That does not cost the township anything. If it's that significant that you guys are that unhappy with the chief, has that been discussed as an option with anybody? Because, I haven't heard that at any point. I don't know the chief. I don't know any of the law enforcement.
I can look
guys.
into
Thank
that and get
God.
back to
I've been
you.
here for 50 years, and I've never had a run-in with any of them. So I kind of take pride in that. So I just want to understand it a little bit more. And that's where my brain is at. I'm hearing this, and I go, if I'm an employee in a business, and I'm not happy with my management, and I go, it's not bring in another level of management, it's fix the problem. So where are we at that? I agree with, I hear you, and those are major issues that absolutely need to be looked at. And I just wonder, how deep have we done a study on all of this?
So if I could, Madam President, the ordinance creates a civilian position director. It does not eliminate the chief's position or replace the chief, and the township is not looking to do so. It creates a civilian manager for purposes of policy and procedures to strengthen that portion of the police department, and the council is of the opinion, and we'll see what the vote is tonight, that is needed and necessary.
But does that not just leave
Well,
a significant problem of what they're talking about is their commander is what is
No,
going to still be
a
there?
civilian director would address those issues that have been raised if they have not yet been previously done. That's what a civilian director would do. It would assist the chief in preparing the department and protecting the department and the township from lawsuits such as the one that we just settled by implementing various policies and procedures to make sure the township is complying with what's required under the law.
So, and these are issues that the police chief has been previously responsible for? Or
The
have we
chief
never had?
is currently the head of the department.
Okay,
That's
so
correct.
he's been responsible for those issues.
That's correct.
So we're now splitting the job into two roles.
Because the council believes it has not been done properly.
Okay, and we're increasing the township budget by as much as 200,000 because that's the top level.
I don't know what the budgetary impact will be. But I'm not voting.
Well, there is a $200,000 salary that's going on the books.
It's possible that somebody already in town could be appointed to the position. We don't know.
But then you're going to replace that position that you're replacing, so
Maybe,
it's still.
maybe not. It's not unknown, it's unknown.
I guess I'm just thinking there's other options instead of having to pay this additional salary. Again, we're the taxpayers. I want to support these guys. I'd rather spend the $200,000 on new equipment, better safety equipment for them. That's where I'd rather see the money go, not to add another layer for a situation where the union has issues with the chief, and the chief has, he does his role, and it's just somebody has to determine who's right and who's wrong in this spot, and make the appropriate decision. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
My name is Peter Kyriakoulis, 9 Cranberry Harvest Court, Jackson, New Jersey. First, I want to introduce myself and tell you that the men in blue and the people that wear the badge, I've supported my whole life. I'm going to base some credibility right now so that you understand who I am. I had the opportunity with several police officers here to use my Rolls Royce to drive for Share Network so that somebody could take the recipient of a kidney or donate. I also built a group home in Parsippany called 360 Life for autism and handicapped children that was also supported by the police departments. I held many affairs for the state police, including at Jessel, one of their honorees, Lieutenant Colonel Ed Setnor, that was a Jackson resident as well. And I'm speaking because many people don't know me, but the people that do know me, and some of these do, I put my jeans on and I lay tile. But I brought companies on the New York Stock Exchange. I owned a company called MMA Alliance. It was a UFC company. I brought it. And I felt that there was some sort of unity and everybody needs to stand together. I'm not up here by no means opposing one side or the other side. So I want to be clear. I'm sitting up here talking about justice and what we fight for as Jackson residents, as people. Now, I speak at schools and I do a lot of things, and I'm a little choked up right now, and I'll tell you why. Because it's uncomfortable in this room. Now, if I sat in front of people at my own home, I have casino nights, raise money for CHOPS hospitals. Here in Jackson at the Italian American Club, I hosted something called Happen. For 20 years, I took group homes and handicapped children that nobody, I'm not sure, showed up for those. At the time, it was Seda, I was the mayor, but I did it for 20 years for Ocean County ARC. I also just declined a documentary about me from Channel 5 News. I saved a woman's life during COVID. She had got Will's Bar and did not have insurance. So I fought with a group of people like you to get her insurance. They said there's not enough time. So my attorney took me into that hospital, Newark University Hospital, and said, Peter, put your money where your mouth is. Put $2 million up to this hospital. And when the insurance goes through, that child will be fine. I didn't even know this girl. I just met her at a store. So I want to tell you a little bit about me. Because there could be a few people that don't know me and past speculation. I drive Ferraris, Lamborghinis, but they mean nothing. They mean nothing to anybody. What really counts for is being credible for what you stand for. We are Americans. We stand for that flag only. We don't stand for the man in the uniform. We stand for the uniform. So I will tell the Jackson people and the United States citizens, and I will tell you this, my First Amendment right is freedom of speech, and it also says something about government. I will remind you, if you ever removed me from this podium for something that I had to say that was just, we'd see each other in court. You cannot violate people's rights. I was in a situation in this town that was uncomfortable, and I let it go because I thought that the greater good overholds. The police department is king, but we should not fear the police department. Somebody told me one day, I was sitting in this chair 2 weeks ago, and said, Peter, be careful. And I asked myself, be careful of what? What am I careful for? These are the people that are protected. Actually, these are the people that I pay to protect me, right? We all pay, and I don't mean it like that, but I want to be very clear. Everybody here on this council has did wrong. We all have. And we all are not perfect. But if we get together, instead of pointing that finger, because that's what I do in my company, the first guy that points the finger is out of my company. Because you focus too much time on the blame. Let's fix the problem. If we have to hire him, I say hire him. If we don't have to hire him, don't hire him. But let's make those decisions based on that. Ms. President here, I own a barbershop as well in town, but I own a tile company. The only reason why I bought the shop, now you would see me in my work clothes and think this man's, but I don't live for money. I live for justice. But I will tell you, put your money where your mouth is, like my attorney said. Pete, you want to save that girl, don't talk about it and don't get your friends to try to help you. Put it up. So that's what I stand for. I stand for justice, and I stand for us to hold the credibility to everything. And as far as in the Jewish faith, I had an opportunity to study with a rabbi named Rabbi Kamenetsky. very major rabbi, and he taught me a few things in this world. And he said, Peter, never worry about just, because just always comes. And never worry on how much money you're going to make this year, because God already knows how much you're going to make. And something in the tabloids he told me that was very true. He said, God keeps you on your toes, because if you wanted to reach in your pocket and get 3 coins out, but you only have 2 coins, you will, ma'am, I had other people speak for more than me last time, and please don't, because everybody does things that are not proper, right? I parked my Ferrari across the line one time, but I never took 3 parking spots. I will not allow unjust, okay? I will not. I waited, I'm a Jackson resident for 30 years, and I saw things back and forth. I never would speak on politics. Everybody's opinion, and it's like religion too. We'll never agree, because I have my beliefs, you have your beliefs. But I ask that Jackson, and if you're watching the video and you see it, stand up for what's right for us. And what scares me the most right now is that the people that are protecting us are at war, it seems, with their commander-in-chief. So what I tell the Jackson people is, how are we protected? And how can an administration run their office if there's so much chaos? I think this is an address that the state and the United States government may have to get involved, because we have parted who we are. And I'll tell you this, Jackson ain't big enough. And I don't want to talk about big, because I don't want to go that far. But I want to say that it's important that we represent each other. I love the people in blue.
Thank you, sir.
And I'm telling you, if they're right, they're right. But if they're wrong, let's try to make it work. And I respect every one of you. And I've donated to all the PBA things. God bless America. And may God help you make the right decisions.
Thank you, sir.
Deb Jones, Hyson Road. I'm just here for this part. I have more to say later, but this is so sad that we have this divide going on. It's bad enough our town is divided. We don't need our law enforcement divided. We need them more now than we've ever needed them. It is up to you guys to step in. I work in education. If this was going on in a classroom, it would never make it this far, where so much stuff has to be aired, where it's being videoed, everyone's seeing it. We have men and women in our law enforcement that need better cars to drive, better bulletproof vests, better equipment, because we don't know what's coming down the pike. We have an idea when we look at the world around us. This is, to me, maddening. I have lived in this town. I don't have all the credentials that the man before me had. I do have that I've lived in this town since I was a kid. I've gone to school with a lot of them. I've educated some of their children. I've walked into grocery stores with them. We need to do something. This should not be a fight that at not one meeting, now 2. When does this end? And if we can't make a decision right now, then we need to respect the people on this board who have a difference of opinion and maybe dive into that a little bit more. Instead of everyone pushing their own agenda, let's push the agenda for our law enforcement.
Thank you, ma'am.
Make a motion to close public session.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
This is the third reading of ordinance 06-24, entitled an ordinance of the Township of Jackson, County of Ocean, State of New Jersey, amending Chapter 3 of the Administrative Code of the Township of Jackson, establishing the position of Director of the Department of Public Safety. I need a motion to adopt on third and final reading and advertise according to law.
Motion.
Second.
Councilman Borelli.
I appreciated hearing both sides of the issue of public safety director being proposed. I continue to stand by my no vote on it. I've expressed before that I wish we could table this ordinance. That's obviously not happening, to allow for more time for the leaders and officers in our Jackson Township Police Department to meet and discuss and hash out any disagreements and concerns that you have along with Township administration, and for all to better understand what the public safety director position would entail. I just feel that whatever differences you may have in your ranks in your police department should be handled from within your organization and not decided at the governing body level. I just don't see how creating another position in our town, which could pay up to $200,000 a year with benefits, with keeping the taxpayer residents in mind, is going to solve the problems that are going on. And I hope you can solve them for the public health and safety of our fellow residents. And I stand by my voting record. I've always voted for the resources that all of you officers need to do your jobs effectively and keep our town safe and secure 24/7. I will continue to do that, and I want to thank you for all your service. And I'm sorry we have disagreements, but sometimes that occurs with the human factor involved. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Bernstein.
When I took oath about 3 months ago, and then about 6 weeks after I was appointed by most of my colleagues as the liaison to the police department, I jumped right into that position, and I had opportunity to start speaking to members of our police force. Many members of our police force were hesitant to speak to me because I do have a personal relationship with the chief. But my duty sitting on council is to go above and beyond my personal relationships and to do what I consider to be in the best interest of Jackson. So after speaking to members of our local police department, of members of county law enforcement, state law enforcement, members of the state PBA, and residents in Jackson who have a little bit more experience than myself, former council members, many former council members, I am confident that my vote tonight will reflect all of their opinions, and I am going to be voting yes.
Councilman Chisholm.
So again, I will stand with what I spoke about last time for the simple reason that, again, there's so many questions that were brought up there. Of course, whenever you have any kind of disagreement, there's your side, there's my side, and somewhere in the middle there's the truth. Now again, in the last 4 years that I've sat here, I have never once had an officer at any point, whether at a public function, Jackson Day, in private, say that there was such dysfunction and or failure of leadership until about 2 weeks ago. So if this was an ongoing problem and there's such an issue with the chief, I don't see how adding another $200,000 salary is going to correct that, because you're still going to have the chief in that position. So that doesn't necessarily correct that. It just adds a burden to the taxpayers. Having this problem between the two different factions inside is obviously not good for the town. It's not going to get any better. It's not going to change the culture. And it's obviously, at this point in time, I mean, you can see, what's going on throughout the country, right? I mean, our officers are under fire, and you're saying how we can't find people and good quality people. And I can tell you as a business owner, it's not easy to fill any seats, any job. So finding somebody that wants to even be a police officer right now, after the movement for the defund the police, it's hard. And I can't say as I blame them. I mean, a lot of moms wouldn't want their children to grow up and say, hey, why don't you go and put your life on the line? So, I mean, I thank you for you guys doing it and stepping up. But it is a special breed of person that's going to do that. So I understand the hiring issues as well. And again, why would we get sued? According to some of the research that I've done and people that have done this, what happens is not necessarily we're going to get sued now, but when you hire somebody in any position, I don't care if you're in the military, the police, I don't care, McDonald's, you can't take somebody that's 2 or 3 or 4 ranks below them and suddenly they're now your boss and leapfrog you. That just creates more culture problems and more tension. And sooner or later, somebody steps out of bounds, does something they're not going to do, and then it ends up with lawsuits. We've already had conversation tonight about a settlement. No personal issue there, Mr. Counselor, but I've had enough of lawyers and lawsuits in the last 4 years, and I'd be quite frankly happy to not have any more under my term. Again, I'm not saying we can't get there, but if there is an actual problem somewhere along, I don't think we've actually exhausted all avenues, and there probably should have been some kind of mediation. So where that failure comes in, Is that in the police department? Is that in the union? Is that in administration? Who should have sat down if there was really a problem for the last 4 years? And like I said, if there's suddenly this issue, why did it only come up in 3 weeks ago? Nobody came to me until 3 weeks ago. So if this was really such a crisis mode that it has to be done now, that doesn't mean that my vote wouldn't change in 2 weeks or 2 months. I just don't know that you throw the baby out with the bathwater to get to this position. It's going to add other burdens, and I see further stress. As a student of history, I can tell you, when you repeat the mistakes of the past, you are going to relive them. We've already had this position in the past. It didn't work. We'll see where it goes. Again, nothing personal, but I think we probably have other avenues to exhaust before we got to this point. So I'm going to vote no for now. Thank you.
Thank you. Council Vice President Sargent?
So my version of the truth is certainly different than Mr. Borelli's and Mr. Chisholm's, and I vote yes.
Council President Kuhn?
Tonight's ordinance continues our commitment to fully support our local Jackson police officers. Jackson law enforcement community overwhelmingly supported to the establishment of a public safety director because they understand that this position will improve our police department and allow us to better serve the residents of Jackson. I'm proud that tonight's action was the result of a collaboration effort between council, mayor, and administration, and our local PBA and SOA. I also want to applaud the dozens of individual officers who came out to make their voices heard in support of this ordinance, and thank the countless more who took the time to speak up personally. I vote yes.
This is the second reading of ordinance 07-24 entitled, an ordinance of the Township of Jackson, County of Ocean, State of New Jersey, amending Chapter 412-6 of the Township Code entitled Trespassing on Public Property, Violations and Penalties. This ordinance was introduced on February 13th, 2024. I need a motion to open the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
If any member of the public has any comments to make, please address the council at the microphone and state your name and address clearly for the record. You will have 5 minutes and may only speak once.
Seeing no one come forward, make a motion to close public session on
wait,
this ordinance.
somebody's coming up from the
We
back.
got someone coming.
Hang on.
Hello. This is my
Hi.
first time at any one of these things, so I'm a little nervous. My name is Carissa, and I have to give my address, I assume.
Ma'am, I'm sorry, I couldn't hear your name. Ma'am?
Carissa?
I'm sorry. Carissa? Yes. Thank you.
I'm at 37 Birch Drive. I have been in contact with the township for a while now, and at this point, I'm just hoping that I can come to some sort of resolution. I purchased my home in September of 2021, and as many do, I had my share of unforeseen expenses and repairs. After purchasing and moving in, I had to replace my furnace and AC, which led to water damage and finished basement needing to be...
Yeah, I think you want public comment.
Yes.
Yes, this is in public
This
comment.
is only on this ordinance.
Yeah.
About,
Oh,
I'm sorry, I was
apologize.
trying to hear you, I couldn't hear you. When you come back, just talk into here, because I couldn't hear anything that you said, but come back at the end.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
anyone else about this ordinance? Seeing no one come forward, make a motion to close public session.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
This is the third reading of ordinance 07-24 entitled, an ordinance of the Township of Jackson, County of Ocean, State of New Jersey, amending Chapter 412-6 of the Township Code entitled Trespassing on Public Property, Violations and Penalties. I need a motion to adopt on third and final reading and advertise according to law.
Motion.
Roll call.
Councilman Borelli?
Yes.
Councilman Bernstein?
Yes.
Councilman Chisholm? Council Vice President Sargent?
Yes.
And Council President Kuhn.
Yes.
This is the second reading of ordinance 08-24 entitled, an ordinance of the Township Council of the Township of Jackson, County of Ocean, State of New Jersey, rezoning Block 21401, Lot 15, from R-3 to NC. This ordinance was introduced on February 13th, 2024. I need a motion to open the public hearing.
Motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
If any member of public has any comments to make, please address the council at the microphone and state your name and address clearly for the record. You will have 5 minutes and may only speak once.
Seeing no one come forward on this ordinance, make a motion to close public session.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
This is the third reading of ordinance 08-24 entitled An Ordinance of the Township Council of the Township of Jackson, County of Ocean, State of New Jersey, rezoning Block 21401, Lot 15 from R-3 to NC. I need a motion to adopt on third and final reading and advertise according to law.
Motion?
Councilman
Roll call.
Borelli?
Yes.
Councilman Bernstein?
Yes.
Councilman Chisholm? Yes. Council Vice President Sargent?
Yes.
And Council President Kuhn.
Yes.
The second reading of ordinance 09-24 entitled Ordinance of the Township of Jackson, County of Ocean, State of New Jersey, amending Chapter 245 entitled Landlord Registration and Responsibilities of the Township Code. This ordinance was introduced on February 13th, 2024. I need a motion to open the public hearing.
Motion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
If any member of the public has any comments to make, please address the council at the microphone and state your name and address clearly for the record. You will have 5 minutes and may only speak once.
Hi, Kim Reale, Jackson, New Jersey. My question regarding this is, who is following what's going on with the rentals? Because I know for a fact, I'm a realtor, I know for a fact there are rentals that are out there that are not with the township, that they're renting houses out and not going to the township with them. There are violations on houses, and they're still getting away with renting them. So I want to know how this is going to work in order for them. Who is going to follow up with this?
Ma'am, have you called code enforcement to address those issues?
Several
that you
people
said?
have, yes.
Okay, so you've
They
been in
are
touch with
aware
them.
of it.
They're aware
And
of
yet,
it.
one of the houses was just re-rented again, and I'm almost positively sure they do not have a landlord.
What- I did meet with code enforcement last week to hear their concerns. They actually said that they've never had a council person come in there and meet with them to
Oh, no,
discuss
they
this.
have.
Words. No, a council, not a realtor.
Oh, no.
Oh,
I
realtors
don't
are in
know
there all
about
the time.
that.
As
I'm
you-
talking about,
So
I know
we-
that there are people have that gone
there's-
in and they went
There's
to
laws that
court
were
for
changed.
violations and
Yeah.
everything.
So now, if it's in an LLC, it's very hard for them to find. We're working with them to see if we even have to amend this moving forward. We're trying to do our best. We're trying to get it so that it's easier. So now a landlord has to, which there's over 4,500 landlords in Jackson, they have to register between January 1st and January 30th, which makes it a lot easier for a landlord. And plus, we raise the fee, so it makes it a little better for the town. And then thereafter, they can get a fine, and we do have a structure for them. But we are
But
trying
who
to
is
do it.
following this now?
Code enforcement, as
Because,
Councilman
I
said.
mean, I do know that people have gone into the township and have made complaints on certain homes here, and they re-rented the house. How were they able to re-rent
Do-
the house when they were?
Do they have a renter C of O?
Not that I know of.
If you want to email the address, I can check with code enforcement and get back to you.
All right,
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
all right. Thank you.
Anyone else? Seeing no one come forward, I want to make a motion to close public session on this ordinance.
All in favor?
Aye. Roll
This
call.
is the third reading of ordinance 09-24 entitled An Ordinance of Township of Jackson, County of Ocean, State of New Jersey, amending Chapter 245 entitled Landlord Registration and Responsibility of the Township Code. I need a motion to adopt on third and final reading and advertise according to law.
Motion?
Second.
Roll call.
Councilman Borelli?
Yes.
Councilman Bernstein?
Yes, and again, I want to thank my colleagues for working with our legal team and our clerk's office to get this ordinance ready. Thank you. Yes.
Thank you. Councilman Chisholm?
Yes?
Council Vice President Sargent?
Yes.
And Council President Kuhn.
Yes.
The second reading of ordinance 10-24 entitled Ordinance of the Township of Jackson, County of Ocean, State of New Jersey, amending Chapter 103 of the Township Code of the Township of Jackson, prohibiting parking, stopping, or standing within 50 feet of intersections at county roadways and regulating and permit parking only between 51 feet and 100 feet from said intersections. This ordinance was introduced on February 13th, 2024. I need a motion to open the public hearing.
Motion to open public hearing?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
If any member of the public has any comments to make, please address the council at the microphone and state your name and address clearly for the record. You will have 5 minutes and may only speak once.
Jennifer Cusinelli, Jackson. So my question regarding this ordinance is, I understand that it's mostly on county roads. Now, the municipal roads are going to be
It's the municipal roads off the county roads
off the county roads, and that's going to be up to 100 feet?
that you can't park. The parking permit is going to be 51 to 50, but it's going to be the first 50 feet on the right hand and the left side to allow, the only people that are going to be able to park on those roads is going to be buses, so they could pick up kids and drop off kids.
Okay, so my question is, let's say a long road like East Connecticut Concourse, where there's currently an operating house of worship in the middle, are those patrons going to be able to park on the shoulder there if they don't live there, or are they going to need permits?
If it's within 100 feet of the intersection, they're going to need only a resident who actually lives adjacent to that
And
roadway.
they can't park on the county road no matter who you are.
But are they going to have permits for that?
No.
Not on the county
only if
road,
you live
only
in-
on the municipal roads, and you have to live there. So in essence, your house has to be either the first or the second house. There's not going to be 3 houses.
So how are you going to regulate that?
You're going to have to supply where you live, your address, and you're going to have to fill out paperwork.
Because, for instance, and I spoke with Morty about this, let's talk about 470 Heisen Road. Apparently, there's a mikveh there.
I'm not aware of it.
Morty, you're aware
I'm
of
going to
this.
interrupt for a minute. It doesn't matter what the use is. So if you want to talk about the parking, that's appropriate, but to talk about the use.
But I
because
already
it's a
spoke with
religious
the
use, I
council member
understand,
about
but
this.
because we're a little sensitive to this stuff because of the lawsuits that have been filed, and as
point, I
Councilman
don't
Chisholm indicated, it doesn't matter what the use is.
Okay.
This is a parking ordinance, and that's all it is.
Okay, so it has, this home, this single-family home, has excessive parking by patrons who do not live in the home. That is relevant.
Ms. Cusinelli, is the home within 100 feet of the street, of the county road?
Of a county road?
Well, you said that it was.
No, I didn't go out of measure. You had mentioned that to me that it was within 100 feet.
If
So I
it's
was-
within 100 feet.
If it's within 100 feet, it doesn't make a
After
difference.
this ordinance is passed, then
It doesn't make a difference what the usage is.
Well, the reason that I'm saying this is because law enforcement has been called out several times. We had a snowstorm a couple weeks ago, and there was actually a Hot Zola ambulance, which happens to be a patron of the single-family home, parked in front of a fire hydrant. And the decision was made not to give this person a ticket because it was at the discretion of the police officers that came out. So you got to do it across the board. I mean, we can't pick and choose here who can and who can't park illegally in the town.
Council President, can I respond?
Yeah, I just want to say, I don't disagree with you, and this is a very passionate subject of mine, so I'm not disagreeing with you, and I think that that's something, if you would have emailed that to me, I would have sent it to the chief and asked that he discuss with the officers why they were not ticketed, because I do agree with you, if you're parked in front of a fire hydrant, you should receive a ticket.
Right, and I also want to know if that was a case and somebody did call or email you, I want to know if that's considered spying.
I would have to address
Mr.
the attorney.
Bernstein, I'm asking
We're talking about a
specifically.
parking ordinance right now.
I'm sorry?
We're talking about a parking ordinance.
Right, so can a resident feel comfortable enough to call if somebody is parking illegally in front of their home without it being considered spying?
Within 50 feet of the intersection?
I get emails legitimately 3 times a week, and I do forward them. I forward them
I just
to
want
traffic
people to
safety.
feel comfortable to report something.
So, Ms. Cusinelli, if I could just respond to you for a second. Every resident who has reached out to me with concerns,
Mhm.
I forward it usually to the Office of Administration. It's usually where it goes, or if it goes to PD, and then it's out of our hands. We're not an enforcement agency, council. We're our legislative body, but obviously, we're out there, and we're more than happy to forward the appropriate complaint if you would like.
So when I reached out to you concerning Heisen, did you forward that to anybody?
So you reached out to me through text message and not through, but yes.
Oh, so it has to officially come down a certain...
So, 1 second. So that was forwarded, and I think the council president did mention that that would be a conversation she would want to have, why that wasn't enforced. That would probably in this
I would
form
need
of
it in the
government.
email, though, please.
In this form of government, it would be through the Office of Administration, and I'm sure our business administrator will be in touch with law enforcement to find out why that wasn't enforced.
So the people that live there, and if there are people illegally parked in front of the house, they should reach out to the business administrator?
No, you
Code
can send
enfor-
send an email to any of us. You could send it to me, you could send it to Morty, and we'll forward it to the business administrator and CC the chief and ask, and traffic safety, and see that we can hopefully address the issue.
Thank you.
You're welcome, ma'am. Have a great night.
Once again, Jim Selecchia. Actually, she brought up an issue of Hutzola ambulance parking in front of a fire hydrant. I don't know if it's the same day that I'm looking at, but this picture that I have was taken on Friday, February 23rd in the 11 o'clock hour or so. I would like to present it to each of you so you can see it.
Yeah, if you want to give it to the clerk, please. Thank you, sir. We'll
But that's not my main reason for coming up here and talking. I do want to talk about the ordinance. And I've been back and forth on this ordinance because one of the things I do appreciate is hearing a lot about the safety of the citizens of this township. And as a proof of it, once we come back to public comments, you'll see me again because I'm going to ask this board to do something.
Okay.
But in regards to this ordinance, I went back and forth because the state ordinance 39 already has in place that you cannot park within 50 feet of a stop sign. So most of these roads that we're talking about have a stop sign, so it's already there. So it's not a need for an ordinance, it's a need for enforcement. Now, what I read, and again, if you remember, I was here for the first time
Yes,
it came
sir.
up. This has now changed a little bit.
Yes, sir.
And where I see the changes, you've now included the opposite side of the road all the way to 100 feet, when the state ordinance only goes up to 25 feet.
It's always had both sides, but yes.
Well, not the way it was written the first time. So
Okay, thank you.
my question is, you're limiting it to intersections where a municipal road intersects with a county road. Why did you not go to the extent of including all the roads in Jackson Township? And the reason I ask that is Susan Drive intersects to Heisen Road. You never have a parking issue there. Neal Street intersects to Susan Drive. If you get a chance, go down Susan Drive and try and make a left-hand turn onto Neal Street any weekend. You will see cars lined up on both sides. It's a curve there too. It's a blind curve at certain parts. There have been times where I've gone down that road and there's a car coming the other way and we're basically,
We're currently looking into that. Your neighbor emailed me, and I sent it to the chief and traffic safety as
okay.
well as
But
administration.
that's one of my problems.
But just to answer, I am looking into the issues
Okay.
that I get emailed.
That's fine. The second part, and this is where I'm not sure that safety comes into play here, is the 51 to 100 feet. That is permitting basically for the benefit of the homes, the first and second homes. I live in the third home. I'm 160 feet from the intersection. I get along great with my neighbors, so it's not going to impact me one way or the other. But I look at it this way, is if my neighbor in the first house decides to have their family over for a holiday dinner, and there's excess cars, they're more than free to park in front of my house because to me it's a public road. The curb is open to whoever's there. What you're doing with this is if I have a party and I have people want to park, they cannot use the 51 to 100. And that to me just doesn't make sense. Why are we forcing, I'm 60 feet away.
I can answer that. So the food for thought was then anybody could park there. So we were trying to make it so it was the people that lived in the first, second home that were being impacted by this ordinance. Because otherwise, if we didn't put it adjacent to the property, then the neighbor down the street could decide that they want to park their car in that spot and not
But
move it.
isn't that what the public roads are for?
Well, we're
Is
trying
there
to
anything,
keep,
is there any town that has permitted parking on public streets just for specific, other than you may see a handicap zone for someone that requires you know, a space for a handicapped individual in a home. That I get, makes sense. But these are wide open roads, and, you know.
Well, we're trying to clean up in some of the neighborhoods. It's really, really there's a lot of parking in every which way.
Trust me,
So we're doing
I'm
every
in that
step, and you had
neighborhood.
made a comment of putting this throughout the whole town. I would have 20,000 people at that door if I implemented that much that quick. So we're trying to do it in phases, and we did put out, which you were talking about, the Title 39, we did put out a flyer. And yes, you are right, some of these things are already implemented, but we need to enforce them, and we're trying. And we also spoke about class. I'm going to just answer you, and then we'll end it, because I know you're coming back up.
I have one other couple of things that I
Okay,
just
but
want to
it's,
get real quick.
you know, okay. So what you were talking about with Title 39, we are trying to enforce it, and that's why at the last meeting, you'll recall that I had spoken and said that we were looking to possibly hire, with administration's help, Class 1, so that we can have officers out there
So
and
you're
hopefully
basically,
implement it.
you're basically going to create a parking?
We're trying to clean it up, sir.
No, a parking, I don't know, like the big cities have a parking, you know, police.
Like meter readers, yeah, but they're
Is that
just
what
going to
we're
be.
doing?
I mean,
And listen, I get it, because Title 39, I've driven through I've gone out on a Saturday, come through my development, and I can tell you.
thank you. I just want to be conscious, there's a lot of people that want to talk, and
No, I know.
I took a lot of your time, I
There's
apologize.
been over 30, on one Saturday, I counted over 37 violations of Title 30, of Section 39. So it's out there, I get that.
But we're not equipped with enough officers to implement this, so that's the problem.
That's fine, and so my point with this ordinance is, if we're not equipped, are we gonna not equipped to enforce this too?
I could just add one more point, that this ordinance was in collaboration with the chief and members of law enforcement, and obviously, we are hoping that our police department will enforce it, and obviously,
This
like
is
you said,
months and months
enforcement,
and
we're
months.
doing our job,
I hope
and then
so, too.
the rest falls upon the PD.
The other quick comment, I know I'm behind, but I just
we
want to
just-
kind of, just some cleanup on this. It may be nitpicking, but the way your ordinance reads is from the end of the intersection.
Why don't you email me what you want me to
Well,
look
it's
into,
real
and I'll
quick.
send it
It's
to the
end of
attorney.
intersection to 50
Okay.
feet is no parking. Then you say from 51 to 100.
So where's that? Yeah, I get
50
it.
to 51. Just, I think that needs to be just cleaned up in
Thank you, sir.
in the ordinance. And the other part of it also
Sir,
is
email me, I'll give you my
t-
card.
Well, the other part is you talk about from the
So
intersection.
your 5 minutes has been up
I understand
2
that.
minutes ago. So if you
understand
want
that. My
to,
time's
email the
important.
president,
sir.
you can, but your time's up. Thank you.
I'll be back. So
Thank you.
Look forward to it. Thank you, sir.
Seeing no one else come forward, make a motion to close public session on this ordinance?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
This is the third reading of ordinance 10-24 entitled Ordinance of the Township of Jackson, County of Ocean, State of New Jersey, amending Chapter 103 of the Township Code of the Township of Jackson, prohibiting parking, stopping, or standing within 50 feet of the intersections at county roadways, and regulating and permitting permit parking only between 51 feet and 100 feet from the said intersections. I need a motion to adopt on third and final reading and advertise according to law.
Motion?
Second.
Councilman Borelli?
Yes.
Councilman Bernstein?
Yes.
Councilman Chisholm? Yes. Council Vice President Sargent?
Yes.
And Council President Kuhn.
Yes.
Ordinance's first reading. Council President Kuhn, are there any comments regarding ordinance 11-24?
Yes, thank you. So this ordinance is State of New Jersey establishing Title 316, the Township Code entitled Project Labor Agreement. Pretty much to sum it up, instead of reading this, it's the unions have been going to the county and asking that any projects, that we support any projects over $5 million, that we bring in unions. So that's about sums it.
Thank you. Ordinance 11-24 entitled Ordinance of the Township of Jackson, County of Ocean, State of New Jersey, establishing Chapter 316 of the Township Code entitled Project Labor Agreement. I need a motion to approve ordinance 11-24 on first reading and to authorize the notice of approval and public hearing to be held on March 12, 2024.
Make a motion?
Second.
Councilman Borelli?
Clerk Moss, I've researched project labor agreements, the PLAs. From what I've read, From what I've heard, drives up the cost of public construction projects, and at a time when Jackson residents are paying more for pretty much everything. And I think we have an obligation up here to try to limit the tax impact that can be passed on to residents as a result of public projects in our town being steered to only labor unions. Nothing against labor unions, but I think we should open up the competition to everybody, including non-union private contractors, which make up a bulk of our New Jerseyans, including here in our town and in Ocean County. Studies have shown PLAs go well and above and beyond project costs, drive up labor costs, reduce competition, and would negatively impact non-union. I just said let's include everybody regarding the bidding process when it comes to this. So I vote no on ordinance 11-24.
Councilman Bernstein?
Yes.
Councilman Chisholm? Council Vice President Sargent?
Yes.
And Council President Kuhn.
Yes.
We move on to bills and claims. Motion to approve or hold the bills and claims. Motion, please.
Motion. Second.
Councilman Borelli?
Yes, but I have to abstain, and I will get that. Bill numbers DEL 01, EYE 01, NJM 06, NJS 04, and STA 28, and yes to the rest on the bills and claims agenda. Thanks.
Thank you. Councilman Bernstein?
Yes.
Councilman Chisholm?
Yes, abstain on BRI 18 and COM 44. Yes to the rest.
Thank you. Council Vice President Sargent?
Yes.
And Council President Kuhn.
Abstain from RSC 02, yes to the rest.
Thank you. Council President, if I may, before the motion approval, consent agenda resolution R 138-24 had a typo that has been since corrected. It will be corrected prior to the certification tomorrow.
Yes, thank you. That was sent to the attorney literally, I think, a couple hours before this meeting, so we do apologize for that.
Thank you. I need a motion to approve the listed resolutions under consent agenda.
Motion.
Councilman Borelli.
Actually, I have a question regarding one of the resolutions. I guess it would be posed to the administration regarding, I have to abstain on it anyway, would be the state health benefits plan, and why are we removing township employees from it? Thank you.
Council President?
Yes, sir.
Okay, sure, thank
I'm
you.
sorry.
One of the tremendous burdens on employees and Jackson taxpayers and any municipality, is cost of health care. So from time to time, working with the collective bargaining units and also, administratively reviewing with our providers, we examine and explore the cost of health insurance, dental, prescription, things of that nature. And to the extent that you find products or services that may be more beneficial to both the staff and also to the taxpayers, there's a process within which you consider changing. So there has not been any final decision yet administratively. That's a partnership and communication with the mayor and the governing body, and also with our partners in staff, union and non-union. The state health benefits requires you to give them a 60-day notice. So we're providing them a 60-day notice, and to the extent that there is a decision that may be made, we have that notice on file, so we may move. And just as a sidebar to that, there are additional discussions ongoing to ensure that the 330 rules and regulations are followed, so retirees are protected, and we also have obligations within contractual with our collective bargaining units to provide certain levels of benefits that match, equal to or substantially similar to or equal to, depending on the language, the benefits that they currently enjoy, not just for themselves, but for their families, for their spouses and children. So this is a procedural item that's required to be compliant with the state, and that's why that's presented on a public agenda for the employees as well. We fielded a number of different questions, good questions from the unions. We've also had multiple meetings with the unions, so they can share that data with their members. This is part of that process. In the event no decision is made, that we would rescind the resolution if we stay with the current plan. I will tell you that the state health benefits plan is in effectively a death spiral, where the towns that have good claims experience are leaving. and you have a situation of adverse selection throughout the state where they are siphoning off the reserves to prop up a burgeoning and problematic system. So it's far, far, far better to make a collective smart decision now instead of going down with the death spiral that is the state health benefits plan. And that's if folks review that kind of thing and you look at claims, if your claims are upside down and the healthy groups leave and the sick groups stay, that plan will fail and it will go under. So this resolution represents considering making smart moves to protect the Jackson taxpayers and also our valuable staff and the units and the collective bargaining units that represent them as well, both union and non-union. Do you have any other questions? No? All right, thanks.
Thank you, sir.
Councilman Borelli, are you abstaining from R-138-24 and yes to
Yes.
the rest? Thank you.
Oh, wait, I'm sorry, no. I'm voting no on R-133-24 and R-139-24 on the resolution agenda, yes to the rest on there. Thank you.
Just to clarify, the no is R-132 and R-139.
133-24 and 139-24.
Thank you.
Yes to the rest.
Thank you. Councilman Bernstein?
Yes to all.
Councilman Chisholm? Yes. Council Vice President Sargent?
President Kuhn, if I could ask, if you don't mind, I'm going to ask.
Absolutely no. Go.
Ms. Moss, I just have a question regarding R-140-24. I don't have a date on here at all, or a day. Is there a reason for that?
I'm sorry, I don't understand the question. The date of R-140? We haven't certified that yet. It would be today's date. In the event, on the resolution, in the event that council voted down the resolution, that would not go through in there. That's why it's a blank.
Okay. Yes to all.
Thank you. Council President Kuhn?
Yes.
We move on to public comments on any topic. At this time, if any member of the public has any comments to make, please address council at the microphone and state your name and address clearly for the record. You will have 5 minutes and may only speak once.
And
Peter.
5 minutes is a real 5 minutes.
5 minutes is.
Peter Kiriakoulis, 9 Cranberry Harvest Court, Jackson, New Jersey. So getting back to the topic of the public safety, I was trying to show you credibility on my behalf, and I didn't want to waste the time, so I wanted to give it to, at this moment, is that my credibility to the people in blue and that wear this badge, in Manalapan Police Department, I etched their badge into their floor to show the police department on the gratitude that I have, donated by my company, Interface Tile. But now, I want to look at the council and tell you a few things that I heard last week. Normally, I don't do that, but when somebody stops me from something, I feel compelled. So starting from the beginning here, last 2 weeks ago, we were talking about the public safety and about spending the $200,000, and this gentleman here says that we should get better math teachers. But in my mind, I say get rid of the math teachers. I mean, keep the math teachers, get rid of the history teachers. Because there was a retired officer that came up to this podium, 30 years, lives in Jackson. He didn't even get 2 minutes to speak about the past. Now, the last time I looked in government, we look at past to create and correct the future. We don't worry about money because without history, you ain't gonna have any money anyway. So that was one. Then the second person had said that he was sick and that he reflected for a couple of days, maybe 10 days, about his throat, but he wanted to mention to everybody in the council or to the public that he wasn't coerced. He wasn't coerced. He's making this decision based on his own. So I said to myself, why bring that up? We don't bring things like that in council, right? So then we go down the line, and somebody asked this gentleman here, Mr. Burns, I don't have my glasses, said he only had an opportunity to speak to half of the police department. Now, last time I looked, there's 12 jurors. If you only speak to 6, that means it's a coerced problem in the courtroom, right? So you speak to all of them. right? You made a statement that. Then we go into the middle here, and we said you stopped that police officer from speaking, right? He wanted to speak about the public safety and give you his opinion. And mind you, the First Amendment right, if you read it well, and we're going to go to the attorney next, is the best attorneys in the world. They feed on what you say, and they capitalize on your testimony and proving that maybe some credibility is not right. Then we move on to this gentleman that said, listen, it's on the table, and he wants to review it, and he wants to see how it plays out. He's saying that, the blue, he honestly says that I have nothing against the blue. Then we have somebody that says, well, with all due respect, I don't know if you're supporting the blue because you're not going with what is proposed here. My proposal and what I stood up here wasn't against the right party or the left party. It was right smack in the middle, right? Staring right at the president, right? And it said, hey, be fair to everybody. And there is discretion in this world. You're right. The guy that pays more sits at the front row of the Super Bowl. You're 100% right. And I'm sorry that it's that way. But he earned that. Just like some of these officers earned their ability to be able to stand up on these podiums. So I'm not discrediting these officers. They have the right to use their discretion and represent Jackson and represent all of us. But at the end of the day, let's be fair to everybody. Take the beam out of your own eye before you take it out of somebody else's eye. One time, a person pulled me over, says, sir, you were speeding. And I asked him, did you ever speed? And he said, no. I said, well, this is my first time speeding then, right? I speed. It happens. Sometimes you make a mistake. And we use discretion because that's who we are. We're human beings. And if you do good, I did a lot of good. I don't want anything extra. Like I told you, I declined Channel 5 News, was doing a documentary on health reform and how people do not have insurance, and this woman would have died without me. But here's the thing. If you don't say something, then nothing will ever be changed. So whoever is behind all this and has a problem with left and right, work it out. Work the problem out. And I will tell you this. If I can't speak, I do have the right to publicize anything in the newspaper and pay for it. And I'm not going to say I have a lot of money, but I'm able to pay for it. I just say, let's be fair to everybody.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Again, I picked the wrong person to follow. But I just want to say, I watched the last meeting 2 weeks ago online, and things have been sitting.
Ma'am, I'm sorry, what was your name again?
Oh, I'm sorry, Deb Jones, Hyson Road.
Thank you.
This year, it started with a quote that says, in 2024, this board is committed to preserving more open space, maintaining Jackson's unique character, optimizing the use of your tax dollars to enhance services without significantly increasing the budget. Now, here we are in February with so many things adding to our budget. And I'm sorry, I do not mean this disrespectfully to any of you, but in 2023, Council President made $9,668. The council members made $8,668. Now, you're looking for Council President for $35,000 and council members $32,000. That's a 362% raise on the president. That is a 369% raise on the council members. So I do have some questions about that. What changed in the job of the council president that now warrants a $3,000 increase over the member, that last council president that was making $1,000 more? And what are the minimum amount of hours that you need to work to make these salaries? Because there's a lot of hardworking people in this town that are barely making this or maybe a little bit over, and they're working full-time jobs, 40 hours a week, doing things that they might not want to do, but they have to do to support their families, and part of that is paying their taxes to support this town. That's sad. And then we're all getting reassessed. whether they're going up, staying the same, whatever. We're all facing that our taxes are being reassessed. That's sad. Also, we've elected you guys into public office. Your professional life is not the only aspect that gets viewed by the public. Whether right or wrong, your private lives are also on display and sometimes can look like an inappropriate conflict of interest. As we all know, our actions speak louder than our words, which brings me to my last point for tonight. It was extremely disrespectful to watch the embarrassing behavior coming from public officials at the last meeting when some council members were explaining their reasons for voting the way they decided. Whether we agree with it or not, they have the right to vote that way, and they were chastised by another member publicly. I would hope moving forward that our council would show a bit more decorum and respect for each other and the residents of Jackson. Some of the issues that were talked about and should have been talked about were when you guys were behind closed doors and everyone could have been brought up on the same page. Nobody should be learning about something after their workday has been done. I don't understand. I don't understand all the dirty laundry that's being aired over and over and over again. And it's very sad, but when I see the behaviors like this, it really makes me question if our beloved town is really in the hands of the right leadership. And that's very sad to me.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Hi again. Hello. So again, my name is Carissa from 37 Birch Drive. So I kind of just wanted to bring this to public at this point just to see what we can come to a resolution. I purchased my home here in Jackson, first-time homeowner, and it is nothing what I foresee it was going to be. I purchased it in September 2021, and as many do, I had my share of unforeseen expenses and repairs. After purchasing and moving in, I had to replace my furnace and AC, which led to water damage in my finished basement needing to be pulled apart. I had to handle them along with adding a French drain system as well. I am blessed with amazing neighbors, and we stay in touch and do our best to help each other, and we have each other's backs. I was able to get in touch with not my sellers, but the owners prior to, and he showed me the outdoor drains he set up, being a former contractor himself, and showed me where they were, and we found that it was clogged with roots the size of a full-grown snake. I have pictures. Later, I came to find out that they were actually bamboo roots. After the indoor mess I had to handle, I turned my attention to the outdoors. I had a dead tree in my backyard that needed to be removed for fear it would fall on my home. I had to pay the township for a permit for this to be removed, and an additional $2,000 for the tree company to remove it. I was told upon buying this home from my inspector there's bamboo behind my property. It was very clear, and you can visually see it behind my property. And I saw it, but was not informed by the inspector or my sellers the extent of the situation I now face. As I was directing my attention outdoors in April of 2023 at this point, I had bamboo companies come out to see about getting a barrier installed to keep that bamboo grove at bay, to which I was informed it would do no good as my entire property is infested with the roots of bamboo already. He showed me what I thought was weeds originally, and to my amazement, these roots went all the way to the front of my property, under the city sidewalks, into the curb. I explained to him the tree I had to have removed, and he said he wasn't surprised because the roots suffocate anything in its path. This didn't sit well with me, having to have just paid $2,000 plus a permit to remove a dead tree that was potentially avoidable. He also stated a barrier had to be installed in a U-shaped form around the whole property and to the curb, needing to be 3 inches above the ground. To me, this is a potential safety hazard for anyone walking the sidewalks, children's, pets, etc. Once I came to the understanding of my situation, I contacted the township to see what I can do to get this sorted and see who owns that property. They said it was the school, Camp Joy, and it was finally hashed out and determined it's actually the township's property from Jackson. I have since gone back and forth with the township trying to come to a common ground and resolution. I will say there's a huge shout out to Andrew Cheney. He has been nothing short of amazing, incredible, helpful, and caring, and guided me to where I needed to be instead of brushing me off and saying it's not his department. I was supposed to be working with an Andrew Thomas who claimed to be working on this and since left the position, and no one took over his responsibilities or followed up with me. I had forwarded estimates and stressed the severity of this issue and my concern for the gas line in the middle of my yard, my home's foundation, and city sidewalks, pipes, gas, water, etc. Just to add here, these pipes and street were recently replaced by the township. Why let these roots affect and destroy pipes the township just spent money on replacing? I was then told Andrew Belensky will be helping me, yet he hardly ever got back to me. And I will say he did get some movement with this. After hearing from me many times, on October 31st, I saw and heard machines going behind my property. I immediately called the township and spoke with Andrew Belensky, asking if he determined a full plan of action. He said they were just going to have the township workers cut it down. I was floored as I had in-depth explained this has to be fully excavated with all the roots at the same time, township property and my property. I sent an email to Michael Reyna and Thomas Wall that same day in hopes to get some real traction. I have been communicating with Mr. Wall since, and we have been going back and forth on how to handle this situation. November 17th, I was told legal would be getting involved to get a document written up to allow access onto my property from the township to remove these roots. I spoke with Mr. Wall and we came to an agreement. I would like the bamboo removed from the township property, my neighbor's property, and the city sidewalks, as this all has to be done at once. This is a very hostile and aggressive plant. It will grow through anything. Its nickname is Bamboo Runner, due to its fast nature and growth. Springtime is its prime time to come alive. The bamboo has been removed and cut down by the township, I believe it was beginning of February. I was informed it will just be cut and sprayed. I voiced my concerns that this will not resolve the matter, and leaving things as they are will only cause further harm to my property. My last conversations with Mr. Wall left off that he will contact the bamboo professionals and hear for himself the hazards of leaving these roots. I also have since followed up on the legal documentation to get on my property to remove the roots and was told the township does not work on private property. Just to give perspective here, if a branch fell from my property onto my neighbor's shed, for example, I would be liable for damages. To me, it's clear the township is responsible and liable to rectify the manner to develop. Can I continue? I'm almost done.
I'm going to give you my card, and then what I'll do is I'll email you and talk to you, and then we'll talk to administration, because it sounds like there's a lot in that email, and I want to just get caught up to speed, because I don't think any of the council members are on any of that.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Yeah. So you'll give me your.
I'm going to, as soon as I'm done, I'll just wait for me, and I'll
Okay.
give you my card.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Back for a third time. This time, I'm here to ask the council to do something. And I'm not sure where, again, it's Jim Selecchia, and I do live in Jackson. I've been attending, because I am now semi-retired, I've had more time to see what's going on in the town with the various boards that are here. So I've been attending planning board meetings, zoning board meetings, and if I'm not there, I usually watch the video. At yesterday's planning board meeting, the issues that's being discussed made me think about what I'm going to ask for now. And basically, what was on the agenda for the planning board meeting was for 4 private schools on Chandler Road. And I don't have an issue with schools. What I saw was there's one road in and out to get to these 4 schools. And I think that is a bad precedent to set in this town, to have just one way in and out of a school that houses 2,600 children, 255 staff. Mr. Wall was there. He raised his concerns, and he brought up the fact of, the old active shooter, having one road out, is that the safest measure? What I would like to see, and I don't know if it's the council that does it, if it's the mayor, but I would like to see this town, for all new development, whether it's residential, whether it's a school, whether it's warehouses, are required to have multiple entrances and exits that are separated on the property, not because what was brought out yesterday is, well, there's a road in and out, so we're covered by the state guidelines that allows us, that we can get traffic in and out. Problem with that is if someone is crazy enough that they destroy that entire road, now you have no way out. And those children, if they're in the schools, they're stuck. So what I would like to see is, going forward, that we require the developer to understand that they must have 2 entrances and 2 exits out of all of their locations. Plain and simple. It's not against anybody. It's not, to me, it's all about the safety of whatever's going in there. If it's a residential community, and I will tell you, we have I will describe the one that I know of in Jackson Township where we have a residential community, Crystal Brook, right on Bennett's Mills Road behind the Stop and Shop. It is a one-road exit. On April 7th of 2023, there was a significant structure fire in that residence, in that development. The 7 fire companies that we now have to have because, again, we're losing firemen left and right, take up all of the roads. Between the 7 fire departments, the police that all responded, the first aid, the road was blocked. So anybody that was in that development could not get out until the fire situation was cleared. And that's just crazy. There's got to be ways. You look around. My development, we have 3 different roads that get in and out. So you block one, we got 2 others. You look at you look at the ShopRite shopping center, you can get out onto County Line Road in 2 different spots. You can get out on the side road. I can never remember the side road names. Stop and Shop, you can get out onto Bennett's Mills. You can get out onto County Line. It just to me makes so much sense to require these guys to have 2 entrances and exits separate. Same thing with a warehouse. If they have a 200-foot wide frontage that they're using, there's no reason they can't put an entrance on one end and an entrance on the other end. This way, if there's an accident in one spot, you can always get out the other. And that's all I would love to see that this board would consider. I don't know where it goes. I don't know who's responsible for it. I'll leave that to you guys to make the decision, but I would love to see, in the act of safety for the citizens, as I said, you seem to be providing safety requirements in your whole tenure so far this year. So I hope that this garners your attention and you look at it.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Have a great night.
I know I already spoke at length up here before, but I was compelled to come back up after I heard the comments.
It's public comment. You're good.
About the salary increases for the council persons. And I wanted to say, regardless of whether you agree with our position or disagree, you deserve every penny of it. I would like to note that the poverty rate for 2023 for a family of 4 is $41,400. The average councilperson's salary range in the state of New Jersey is $32,198 up to $54,758. So as far as I'm concerned, you are all underpaid for what you do, whether you agree with me or not. Lastly, I would like to say one last thing about the public safety director position and the salary as far as that's concerned, because I do appreciate that it is a concern for the residents of the township. I stand by my previous statements 2 weeks ago where we suggest that someone from inside the agency, we have a tremendous talent pool who meets the criteria, would reduce the cost from $200,000 to $29,500. And at this time, the unions are not seeking an additional hire to replace the replacement, so to speak. At this point, we would just be happy to get the hires that we're supposed to get, not asking for an additional. So thank you again for your time, and thank you again for your consideration.
I have a question real quick.
Yes, sir.
You said not at this time that you're looking for a replacement,
That's correct.
but in the future you may be looking for a replacement?
No,
Okay.
not for that position.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Have a good night.
Good evening, council. I'd like to just address a few.
Sir, your name?
I'm sorry, Donnie Edelman, Willow Point Drive, Jackson.
Thank you.
I just want to address a few things, and maybe we can go through it afterwards. The dog park, we spoke a few weeks ago, a couple sessions ago, about the water problem, about the flooding. They did make some improvements, but we need some long-term improvements, namely drainage at the gate and possibly a second set of gates. I spoke to the Public Works people, and they said what they've been doing is they've been collecting scrap pieces of gate material so that this way they can maybe build a second entrance on both sides. I humbly ask that maybe the town appropriate $10,000, $15,000, whatever it may take, to fix the issue with the drainage and put in a second set of gates for both sides of the park. Number two, Mayor Reyna. As a resident, he's my mayor. I didn't vote for him, but, well, enough people did, so he wins. I've been trying to get help from this man for 8 years. I've called him. I've went to his office. I've knocked on the door of his home. He has not responded to me. At this point, what could be done to either fire the man, recall the man, vote him out of office, short of voting him out of office? From what I heard on all different matters, on all different issues in this town, quite a few people have an issue with our mayor because he is not doing our job. He has completely ignored me for years. And when I sat there with you at Jackson Day, you told me to leave you alone. So what could be done to recall this man and get a mayor in there that actually cares to do his job for all the residents of Jackson? Next is recouping the money from the lawsuits. Apparently, based upon a comment I heard while I was on my way over here, certain people haven't learned. I am in the process of securing all the paperwork for the lawsuit under Oprah, and I know really what it comes down to. There's a list of probably about 20 to 30 people that insinuate most of these problems, some of which are in this room tonight. Just like anyone else, how about we enact a you break it, you bought it policy, because the residents of the town, the 50,000 of us, don't want to pay for their mistakes. And more importantly, maybe if these people learn that if they say certain things, do certain things, and act certain ways, and are penalized for it, that maybe the behavior will stop and we won't have to hear about mikvahs while talking about parking. Next, I'd like to ask if we could possibly look into, on top of the civilian chief or whatever it is that we're calling him, a civilian oversight panel when it comes to internal affairs issues. Based upon statistics I was able to recoup, either everyone that has a problem with Jackson Township either lies about their problem, or the various internal affairs officers over the years have done what everyone thinks that they're doing, is just they're there as a mechanism to alleviate any problems the officers may have. And let's not wait till we have a Rodney King or a George Floyd type issue before we check our officers. With the looking into the paperwork for the lawsuit and other things, there's a great concern about what Oprah is in this town and what Oprah is for the state of New Jersey. Basically, anything that is a public record is accessible to the public. It is as simple as that. If you want to eat your emails, public workers' cell phones that they take pictures on, no matter what it is, there should be open access, number one. And when we don't have open access, that the mechanisms in place for penalizing the people that have purposely destroyed documents, that have erased photos and so forth, we can't have the clerk's office say, well, we don't know what to do, we're not going to do anything about it, so, because we don't know what to do. And then the last thing is possibly looking into the town of having a disability coordinator, disability department, possibly working in with the senior department. There's some basic services that as a disabled person could be beneficial to the residents. I think that there's a lot of problems in the town, and there's just a lot of management on any large town that, that we live in. But having access to somebody who specializes in saying, okay, for the disabled residents of this town, this is what we could do to make it better, I think that would be a great idea. That's it.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome. Have a great night.
You too. Be safe.
Seeing no one else come forward, make a motion to close public session.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion to close.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Have a good night, everyone.